And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the grand finals of this week's WTL KungFu Cup. Week number 2, and we're getting ready for the finals of Oliveira versus Dark. If you're in the chat, place your bets because predictions are now about to open. One moment. Predictions are upon us. Place your bets on who you think is going to be this week's champion. Is it going to be Dark or is it going to be Oliveira? It is up to you to decide. Here we go. Predictions, bam, are in the chat. Go for it, Papi. Go for it. As a reminder, this is a best of 5. Best of 5, not a best of 3, not a best of 1. So plenty of games are ahead of us. And here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the Chinese Terran player. We have the reigning world champion representing KranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, also representing KranKy Gaming, as they are teammates. It is Dark. Just letting you know in the chat, prediction, they're open. They're open. Predictions are indeed open, and here we go. It's a best of 5, plenty of games ahead of us. Game 1 on Golden Aura, interesting one here as let's go. This is what we've seen in the past, and we're seeing it again. Dark is going for Hatch first. I got excited. I was like, is he gonna go gasless again? I want him to go gasless. I want him to take that chance, and no, okay, never mind. As oh, he is. Let's go. Okay. I got excited. The reason why I clapped was like, he's going gasless. He actually is going gasless. Yeah, let's go. It's going to be a hatch pool hatch opener here from Dark. Okay, so I should explain myself. We have seen Dark do this before, specifically on this map. Never mind, he's going for a proxy hat? Okay, no, okay, he's scouting. Okay, I was very confused as to what was happening with this drone, but it's coming back for the third base. So we have seen Dark do this before. We casted Dark over the weekend. I believe it was KSL, Dark versus Gumiho, and Dark did go gasless on this map. If you're familiar with Dark, and if you're familiar with the previous map pool, you would know that Dark would almost exclusively go gasless on Neo-Humanity. The reason for that is because specifically on Neo-Humanity, the entryways into the natural and third base were very narrow, and there were very few of them. So you could actually defend without lings. Like with slow lings and with queens, you'd be fine, and you actually wouldn't have to prioritize ling speed anytime soon. So because of that, we saw these really greedy openers out of Dark on Neo-Humanity. Golden Aura is very similar. This map is very similar in nature, where your bases are very tightly compact. They're very close to each other. These entryways are very narrow as well, so you can afford, as a Zerg player, you can afford to go gasless against Terran, specifically on Golden Aura. That's exactly what Dark is doing here as well. Now, he doesn't do this every game, but, you know, more often than not. Meanwhile, across the map, Oliveira going for a 3rd CC opener, 3rd CC before starport, so a very economic opener as well. Not as economic or not as greedy as Dark, and on top of that, Oliveira hasn't gone into the main base. He doesn't know how greedy Dark has been. I guess he did see the timing on the 3rd base. That should be enough of a tell exactly of how Dark did open up. And you can't abuse this in the traditional way. Again, because of Dark's queen control and queen movement, it's really difficult to really bust in and punish the economy here of the Zerg player. As Oliveira is just going to be going 3cc into a starport. It's not going to be a 3cc 2-on-1 variation. It's going to be into a starport instead. So nothing too fancy out of Oliveira, just very standard play out of him. Not overly aggressive, it's very economic. As he goes for the add-on swap and is going to be going for Banshees. Again, very standard, and it does make a lot of sense, especially against Dark. You want to be opening up Banshees because Dark is very commonly going for Roach play, and Banshees do keep you safe against Roach aggression. Speaking of, there's that Roach Warren. Roach Warren is thrown down. Now all the gases are being taken here, 3 at a time. Dark skips ling speed, by the way, because we don't care about lings. We're all about the roaches and the queens. And I'm curious as to when Dark is going to cut workers, because you can set up a Roach Queen all-in on this map as well. The rush distance by ground on Golden Aura is actually very short, like Near Humanity as well. Rush distance is very short, and it doesn't take long at all to get across the map and to commit to an all-in. Meanwhile, Lair is on the way at the 4-minute 30 mark, so we aren't going all-in. We are saturating this third base. We're going for a longer game. This Lair, of course, is going to be able to unlock Roach speed for the Roaches and get into higher tech, mainly the Infestation Pit for the Infestors. Okay, we have seen a lot of Infestor play this tournament so far from Dark. The Infestor has been changed for the better for Roach players, just because now when the Infestor pops, it already has enough energy for a Fungal. Can Fungal growth immediately from the get-go. Meanwhile, you can see the Hellions, they try to bust on forward, but the Queens, they completely wall off that ramp. Once again, the Hellions can't push into the natural either. Again, because these entryways are so narrow, it doesn't take too many units at all to defend, to wall off, and to deny Hellion run-bys. Behind this, we're getting to additional Raxes. It is going to be bio play out of Oliveira. Third base is slowly being saturated. 1-1 is on the way. When it comes to Banshees, we only made a singular Banshee just to keep us safe. We didn't commit into Cloak. We didn't make a second Banshee, just one. That is enough, and I'm sure we would have gone into additional Banshees if we did read that an all-in was coming. Meanwhile, Dark just getting saturated on 3 bases. We have the 4th hatchery now on the way. 1-1 in production, Roach speed as well. Once we get our 4th up and running, we should be seeing that Infestation Pit. And yeah, we're just getting into the mid-game. Hellions are doing a good job at least clearing up creep, whatever creep they can. But the Queens shouldn't be too far behind at respreading that creep and just maintaining control of this area. It is also very important to knock down these rocks. There are certain tank pushes that can threaten this area quite hard. Not just this location, but also up here on the high ground as well, next to this 4th base. So Dark does want to spread creep in these areas as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, there is that Infestation Pit. We were talking about the Infestors earlier and how much more powerful they are, and how good of a supportive unit they are as well for Roach Ravager. And it's very necessary because Dark isn't working with Banelings, so he has to make up for his lack of splash damage without Banelings with Infestors instead. Ooh, it's a good catch here from Dark. He does pick up a couple of these Hellions. Really good positioning, really good movement. As Dark is going to be able to threaten this natural. He's not committing. Behind this, he's teching up. We have a Hive on the way. We have a Baleen Nest on the way as well. 2 Baleen Nests, actually, by accident. I don't think that was intentional. But it is going to be a transition into Ling Bane Roach Ravager, which is what we saw earlier today against Gumiho. Now, you may have heard that the Baneling has been nerfed to the ground and you can't make them anymore. That is kind of true. As we're seeing here, basically what we've been seeing from a lot of Zerg players, from Dark, from Serral as well, which we were able to cast over the weekend, is that a lot of Zerg players have been opening Roach to survive the early game, to get into the mid game, and then after you hit 1-1, after you're comfortable, then you can go into Banelings. After you survive the initial 7-minute push that typically comes. So now Dark is safe enough to get into Banelings, where they can play a more vital role here, now that Dark is saturated on 4 bases and working towards a 5th. So Banelings are, again, they're more of a mid-game unit at the moment. His Baneling speed is on the way, +1 melee. Ooh, we have a Nidus Worm being thrown down as well. Dark looking to get fancy, looking to be active on the map. Hive is done, Vipers are on the way, and Oliveira's been surprisingly passive. It's been really odd, but yeah, Oliveira, he's terrified of his opponent. It looks like he was expecting a Roach push, so he has a tank line set up, he has a wall, he has a sensor tower, and Dark has correctly identified how defensive his opponent is being, especially with this sensor tower, and Dark has teched up heavily into Hive, Vipers, Adrenal, soon to be 3-3. Like, Dark is getting away with so much greed. But the push is upon us, and that's a lot of tanks. We are up to 8 tanks here for Oliveira. He has a terrifying position, a terrifying army. Again, this map is quite small, Tanks are on siege. Can Dark collapse on this position? 17 Banelings are on the way. Baneling speed is done. Really, it's all about the Vipers. It's all about the blinding clouds. 2 Vipers are ready for this, and here we go. We're just going to collapse on this army. Blinding clouds are thrown down, covering the tanks. Fungals as well on the Marines, and Dark. Can he clean this up? It looks like he barely doesn't break this. 1 tank survives, reinforcements arrive because the rush distance by ground is so short. Doesn't take too long to just rally across the map, and this base will be broken. It was a good start to the fight, but it just barely wasn't enough to break through. And now Dark is on the back foot. More Banelings are on the way. Ravagers as well. The Vipers were killed. Oh, Dark, he lost every single spellcaster in that attack. He lost his Vipers and he lost his Infestors. He has to wait for the Unsiege. He's hoping to try to catch this army. But he doesn't have enough Banelings. Dark is expanding towards bottom left. That is where a gold base is, by the way. So Dark, his economy is still looking strong, even though he lost a hatchery. Because of the gold, still looking okay. But now Oliveira is being active here with 2 armies. Does cancel a base. Doesn't lose the tank. As he pushes over on the left-hand side. Can Dark deal with this without Infestors, without Fungals? Okay, pushes on forward, takes down the Marines. Some of them at least. At the same time, Oliveira is gaining ground, getting on top of that Nidus. So Nidus that we didn't really make use of. As we still want forward, we get on top of the Ravagers. Expensive losses here for Dark. 3 Ravagers go down. And Oliveira is just pulling Dark apart. Oh, but he does catch a tank. Tank is caught on siege, and yeah, Dark, he's going to be able to at least deal with this army on the left-hand side. A good catch from the Zerg player. Dark, he needed something to go his way, and that overextension from Oliveira was exactly what Dark needed. Now he's getting back into Vipers, working towards +3 carapace. Adrenal is done. 3 attacks still is not on the way, but Dark, he's starving when it comes to gas. His minerals he's fine in. You know, that's reflected by this gold base being mining. It's been mining. But gases are where Dark is severely lacking. He did not take his gases at his 4th. And that shows. Now Oliveira's pushing on forward. He does go for a drop into the natural, which should be cleaned up by these queens. It shouldn't get too much more done. As the queens are trickling in, and 2 queens go down. Meanwhile, over on the left-hand side, Oliveira is gaining ground. Tank positioning a little bit too good. He does get on top of the gold. Oh, and the hatchery is going to fall. At the same time, Dark goes for a big counterattack. Planetary is exposed, and we get a Nidus into the main as well. Yeah, the Planetary Fortress will go down. At the same time, we have a drop in between the bases. Oliveira getting damage done. The Nidus finishes, but we aren't able to make use of it. Just distracts the army as both players lose the base. Oliveira working on his 5th. Dark also trying to get his own 5th up and running. Yeah, but again, this area is just too narrow. Like, the tank volleys are just getting so much value. And Oliveira is slowly pushing forward. Again, Dark, he can't really commit to a fight. He's getting a couple of biles off. But he's being choked out. He should lose this base. At the same time, he's going to try to push in towards the triangular 3rd, but he can't quite make it through. Another Nidus is on the way in the main base. But the Nidus goes down. The gold base falls as well. Dark has to give up this position. He is retaking this new 5th, I guess. It is getting up and running. Dark trying to double expand even. And now that Oliveira's repositioning, he's now a little bit more exposed. This area is more open, more friendly for an attack from the Zerg. But look at the spread. Look at the mines as well. The mines, the tanks, the ghosts. There, he's ready for Dark to try to push in. We do have a couple of infestors getting ready to fungal growth the army. Here we go. Dark comes in from behind. Lightning clouds are thrown down. Mine shots are going to be going off as well. This is a good engagement from Dark. Can he get on top of every single one of these tanks? The fungals! The fungals, they will connect with the ghosts. But there isn't enough to kill them. But despite the engagement, Dark, he loses his entire army. The ultras, they get here too late. And Oliveira, he's snowballing out of control. Again, the fungals were good, the engagement was good, but there just wasn't enough DPS, wasn't enough firepower. Dark with these reinforcements cleans it up. Does clean up the army. Dark is still in this, but we have another force here on the right hand side denying another hatchery. Lings will at least get the tank. Oh, not just that, but we are also going to be able to pick off these Marines and Marauders, but not before the Ultra goes down. Oh. Do we not have... We do have kindness plating. The Ultras, they melted. And we've seen this story before on another map. Dark being denied the 5th base time and time again. This 6th is going to be cancelled. Dark's trying to catch some reinforcements. Trying to bait out some Widow Mines as he tries to go for an Ultra counterattack. But the main army of Oliveira, I don't think he can be stopped. Yeah, it's just too much. GG gets called. Dark has been broken. And Oliveira will take game number 1. Oh, GG. Oh my god. Initially, Dark being a little bit greedy and getting away with it, but he just wasn't able to engage the way that he needed to. Remember the first fight? Despite the blinding clouds, despite the fungals as well, because these areas are so narrow, because there are so many choke points, Oliveira, he was able to trade so well, whether it was the first fight or, you know, pushing towards the gold. That area next to the gold was disgusting. that ramp, that narrow ramp next to the gold base was brutal, and Dark just could never engage there. Whatever he tried, he was just losing Lings, Banes, Roach Ravager, whatever he attempted to throw at Oliveira. There were some brutal locations there that Oliveira was taking advantage of and was just choking Dark out, denying hatchery after hatchery, trading so efficiently. And GG, well played. Oliveira will take a lead in this series. But what I will say is that the way that game played out was very reliant on the map itself, on Golden Aura. And now that Golden Aura, now that we're done with it, I'm sure we're going to be seeing a very different dynamic in some of these other maps. So we are getting ready for our next map, Alcyone. Let's go. It's the Golden Wall map. Here we go. Again, Dark was able to alleviate some pressure by denying the planetary in the top right, at least. But the Niduses never really got going. They never really were able to accomplish too much. And again, the engagements by far went Oliveira's way time and time again. Really impressive stuff. Really impressive positioning from our Terran player. We'll see if he can replicate that here in game number 2. As we load on in, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alcyone, we have the Chinese Terran player, the reigning world champion, leading the series 1-0. Representing KranKy Gaming, it is Oliveira. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg, representing KranKy Gaming. Down in the series, but not out, it is Dark. Here we go. Oliveira, something that I've noticed over the past couple of months, Oliveira, he isn't really one to adopt the Beyond opener or the low ground 2-rack opener. It just hasn't really been done too often from him. I'm not too sure why he's not too fond of it, but yeah, like more often than not, he'll go for a more standard opener, and that's what we're getting here. Going for a Rax expand, Rax on the high ground in the main. As Dark is going to be going for a hatch gas pool. Again, we did take note earlier in game 1 that Dark did go for a gasless opener, which you can get away with on Golden Aura. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Golden Aura is the only map that it's safe to do that on. There's another map. Maybe Rat Hazard Station. Maybe that's another. Actually, yeah, that's probably yeah. Rat Hazard Station is probably another map that's going to be viable on as well. But that map is typically vetoed, and we don't get to see too much play on Rat Hazard Station. But if we ever do, you know, that's another possibility. But now the standard hatch gas pool here from our Blue Zerg. Likewise, Oliveira setting up back at home, going for his Reaper.
Upgrade complete.
Oliveira does opt not to go for an SCV Scout, which again is a kind of risky thing to do against Dark. Dark, he's more than willing to go pool first and go into a Roach Rush. Dark is a very aggressive player and very unpredictable as well. But Oliveira, he's just going to be relying on his Reaper Scout instead, as Reaper is making its way across the map. And this map does have certain features as well when it comes to advocating for certain playstyles. One of them, of course, being this Zelnaga. The Zelnaga is dead set in the center of the map, and it does cover all the attack paths here. It's actually a pretty important Zelnaga and can catch a lot of move outs, can catch a lot of run bys. Very important for the Terran to have control of this location. Outside of that, I did kind of relate this map a little bit and refer to Golden Wall if you are around in that era of StarCraft, but basically there's an entire section of this map that is cut off here by minerals and by rocks. You cannot gain access to this. You can technically float a CC over the wall. You can of course drop over the wall as well. There are ways to get around it, other than of course just mining through the minerals, which will unlock all of these bases on, and even gold bases on the right hand side of the map, if the game goes on that long. Meanwhile, behind this, it is going to be a 3cc opener, 3cc before starport. Oliveira went for this exact same opener last game. So, identical openers here from Oliveira. Dark, of course, did adjust to the map and went for a hatch gas pool, now into a third base. And now we are getting into additional gases. This early on, this should be for Roach production. We should be seeing a Roach Warren momentarily, but we'll see. Oh, we're going for Viking first. At the same time, Lings do come in for a bit of a counterattack, and they do force a lot of lost mine time. One SCV goes down. Again, the Hellions were out of position. The move out was spotted by this Overlord, and Dark took advantage of Oliveira. He will be cleaned up. There is no escape. But regardless, you know, a nice disruption of the economy. Meanwhile, this opener it leaves me curious. There we go. So with a Viking first, that means we're not going to be headed into Banshee production, so it's going to be 3cc into a Liberator instead. Of course, this is vulnerable to early Roach aggression, but I spoke too soon. I assumed that it would be a Roach Warren, but no, Dark is opening up with a Bailey Nest. Let's go. For the first time this tournament, Dark is not going Roach. Let's go. I'm ready for it. Behind this, we're getting into a lair as well. Again, a very safe opener into our double Eva chambers for 1/1 upgrades. And I think part of this is because the last time we casted Dark on this map was Dark versus Clem. And if you remember that series, Dark had a decent early game, and it led into a 1/1 Roach timing, trying to break the third, and it failed. Quite hard, actually. This third base is so defensible here with the high ground, with the ramp, with how close it is to the natural base as well. Dark just did not find any success with his Roach aggression against Clem. So since that, maybe he's been humbled a little bit, or maybe he's acknowledged some of the strengths of this defensive position, and he's going for a different style entirely. Oh, let's go! And it is going to be Mutas. All 6 gases are being taken. The Mutas are on the way. This is a very risky way to play, by the way, to rush into mutas like this, but he's not really rushing into it. Typically, a Zerg player would be preserving gas to make as many mutas as possible, but Dark is prioritizing 1-1 and bailing speed. So really, the mutas are more of an afterthought. This looks like Dark intends to make mutas, yes, but only enough to harass. I'm talking maybe like single digits, like 7 mutas or something like that. 5 to 7 mutas just to harass, and he'll still focus a lot more on his Ling Bane production instead. But we'll see. We shall see as Dark does mine through those minerals, and he will be taking the base here on the right hand side of the map as his 4th. A very safe 4th base to be taken. Is vulnerable to drops, but it is safe against these main pushes, these tank pushes. Oh, as Dark is vying for control of the Zelnaga, at the same time the drop is coming in, Oliveira does see that Dark is out of position. The Ling Bane maybe, but the Queens not so much, as they are waiting in the main. Oliveira will not be successful with this drop. Dark able to keep up at every turn, and the mutas are now coming out. Here we go. It's going to be 8 mutas in total, and they're going to be shutting down these medevacs. They're going to try and boost away, yes, but the first medevac goes down, and up. The second medevac will go down as well, taking down the Marines. And just like that, Dark has map control. I'm loving this because, again, this 4th base is only vulnerable to drops, but now that we have mutas out, drops aren't really going to be a factor. Whether it's the drops or even this Liberator. And again, we only have 8 mutas. We do have +1 air attack on the way, but Dark is still focusing on his Ling Bane production. Viking is going to get shut down as well. We do have a mine up. Oh, that just doesn't go off. Mutas, they head straight for the natural as well. They can one-shot workers. 3 SCVs go down. Really good control here out of Dark. As he will end up losing 1 muta. At the same time, the main army of Oliveira just cleaning up whatever creep he can. Oh, the mine! No! Oof. So another muta goes down. We're down to 6. We have 6 more on the way. As Dark is freely spreading creep, freely taking control of the map. Getting into additional mutas. Now, we haven't teched up into Hive Tech yet. We're still on a Lair Tech army here for Dark. No infestation, but we're just hyper-fixated on Ling Bane muta. Dark is close to maxing out. And again, I'm really curious to see how well this army can perform. Again, it is easier to snipe Banelings, true. But I'm sure Dark won't be engaging unless he can surround the army. That muta cloud getting quite large. I believe 12? 13 mutas in total. They are being pushed back. Dark taking the center goal base, double expanding here on the left hand side as well. So here we go. Dark now looking to push on forward. We do have a couple of Thors. Banelings are being set up as well. Not the best mine connections. Banelings, they will push on forward, and Dark is looking to overwhelm this army. Oliveira, the rest of his forces are across the map. Instead, he's not at home, which means he will be broken. He is out of position, and he's committing, running into a Queen army, running into reinforcements. But alas, Oliveira, he's running out of steam, and he's losing far too much across the map. SCV's going down left and right. Muta's taking control of this location as well. And Oliveira, in one fell swoop, in one attack, he has almost nothing left. The production is being camped, and we can just floodlings into the natural. There's just nothing here to stop Dark. Again, it was just an unfortunate timing for Oliveira to have half his army out on the map instead. He just wasn't ready for the attack. And GG gets called. Dark ties up the series 1-1. We have a back and forth. Let's go. GG. A relatively passive game, but the reason why I was passive is because that's what mutas kind of grant you. Mutas, once they hit the field, they kind of deter the Terran player from going for any drop play. So the drop play had to stop. They got cleaned up. The Liberators as well, and then Dark was able to just get maxed out here. I mentioned earlier that Dark was focusing a lot more on maxing instead of teching. Like, he wasn't working on Hive, on 3-3, on Adrenal, and then it was just Lair Tech, Ling Bane, Muta. And as Oliveira moved out, Dark was able to break through into that third. GG. GG, well played. Overwhelmed Oliveira in the end. And I do think that that's a good answer for that map as well. I do think that drop play can be really scary on Alcyon, or Alcyone. So to go into mutas and to kind of stop that from happening, it makes sense. It does make sense. And with that, we're tied up. We are tied. It's still best of 5. Still best of 5. So still at least 2 more games ahead of us. At least 2. Hopefully 3. As we get into our next game. And the third map is going to be, oh, interesting, is going to be Solaris. I'm not too sure what the vetoes were, unfortunately, but are loading in. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Chinese Terran player representing KranKy Gaming. Oh, the world champion. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent tying up the series 1-1 in the last game. It's the Red Zerg player, also for KranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And again, it was just really unfortunate timing for Oliveira to have moved out when Dark had committed to his push. And again, it was a very committed push just because there was no further tech on the way for Dark. It was kind of all or nothing for him. He had a good economy, don't get me wrong. Oh my god. He's going for a pull first. But Dark had a good economy, don't get me wrong. But again, he just was hyper-fixated on that lair tech timing. And yeah, Oliveira just happened to be not quite ready for it. Happened to be out of position at the time. And things escalated very quickly out of control. Meanwhile, very interesting opener here from Dark. He's going for a pool hatch gas opener. This will grant him access to faster links early on to try to disrupt the opener of Oliveira. He may have taken note that Oliveira hasn't been SCV scouting. Oliveira has been cutting some corners, so this pool first, one, it keeps you safe against a proxy, and oh, we're just going straight for roaches. There, let's go. We are going straight into roaches, no lings required. We're making a couple of lings at least. Now, the goal here is that these lings, ideally, they get across the map, they harass this natural base, and they force the Reaper to turn around. If the Reaper turns around, the Reaper will not scout the Roach Warren. But we are going for an SCV scout. Oliveira. Oh my god. It goes for the SCV scout, confirms the pull first, confirms the late hatchery. He has a piece of the puzzle already. And this Reaper is gonna stay at home. So the reason why the Reaper stays at home is because if it doesn't, then these things could potentially get a kill on this SCV and delay the expansion. So Oliveira has to make the choice, and yeah, he will be staying here back at home, which means he is in the dark as to the follow-up. Behind this, we're getting into our 1-1, getting towards our reactor. The Overlord does have eyes on the Reaper, or did have eyes on the Reaper. Dark is going to be chilling and moving out with his roaches. Now it's going to be 5 roaches in total, and this is designed to deny the natural. It is designed to take control of the natural base and keep Oliveira contained on one base. Roaches have been spotted, and Oliveira is getting ready back at home. We have a Cyclone on the way, a bunker as well. Lings do take down one of those workers. And Dark is running behind this. This is not all in. Not all in by any means. Again, it's just designed to try to hinder the economy of the Terran, as Oliveira is going for a 1-1-1, not a fast third CC. There we go, the CC is lifted. We can potentially take down this depot, maybe a second depot as well. Up! That roach takes a lot of hits to the face. One depot falls. Oliveira has to be very careful with this Cyclone. Doesn't want to lose it. As the second depot takes a lot of hits. It looks like it will survive. We do have 3 bars remaining. Up! And the depot does. Oh my god. Somehow survives. Good local team from Oliveira. Takes down one of the Ravagers. And Oliveira will force this back. Yeah, with the death of the Overlord, we no longer have high ground vision. Really good control out of Oliveira, keeping these Cyclones alive throughout the entirety of that fight. Very nicely done. And immediately Oliveira, he regains control of his natural mules and will resume SCV production. Behind this, Dark has been happily droning, taking a third base, taking these gases. He is in the midst of transitioning. But Oliveira is taking the role of the aggressor. Remember, he did go for a faster starport instead of a third base, so Banshee production has commenced. He's moving out across the map with his army. We have 3 Cyclones, we have Marines, we have a Reaper, and Dark, he may have to cancel this third. Uh-oh. The Ravagers, they're looking exposed. We do get a bit of a lock on, and the Ravagers will escape the Cyclones. Ooh, Oliveira does take a bow to the face. That one Cyclone goes down. A bit of a misstep there from Oliveira. Can he focus down that base? He will force a cancel. That is all he was looking for. A cancel on that third. Keeping Dark on 2 bases that much longer. And behind this, we have a third CC. Now have that third on the way. Dark is doubling down a little bit. He may be forced to cancel for a second time, but he's sending everything across the map. Dark, he's flooding Lings. Lings are moving out as well. Up. But this Banshee shuts down the Ravagers. And the power of the Banshee, this is what we were bringing up in the previous games as well. Banshees are just such a good way to shut down Roach Ravager aggression, and Dark has to respect that he has to completely back off. Now Dark is in a rough position. All these Lings should have been drones. All these Lings, they could have been drones, but Dark, he wanted to be aggressive. He wanted to try and punish Oliveira for being aggressive, and yeah, now Dark, he's double expanding, he's licking his wounds. He's trying to get back into this economically. Behind this, we're getting into our 5-rack setup. What we would expect to be seeing here on 3 bases from the Terran. As Dark is just droning and yeah, playing catch up. These next couple of moments are going to be a little bit chill here. I expect maybe Oliveira to be the first to, move out. And as I say that, here come those Banshees. Cloak is done. There is no Spore at this third base, and we may just see it go down again. Oof. The Spore, the Queens. Dark attempted to go for a run by, but there was nothing to kill at the third base of Oliveira. Four workers, 0 mining here at the third. 5 workers even. The Spore wasn't done here at the natural either. I wouldn't say this. Oh, okay. I was about to say I wouldn't say this is game ending, but this is not an insignificant amount of damage. This is pretty insane. Oliveira able to maintain, able to surpass even Dark in the economy. The Banshees, they make it out, they survive, they get 11 worker kills, they rotate back around, they can maybe even get another here at the third. So they will be forced back. Meanwhile, Dark trying to fortify himself. We have an infestation mid on the way. That's going to be for infestors. Dark double expanded, so he has lava to work with. But I'm sure he would have liked to be working on army right now, but he's stuck redroning. Resaturating his bases. And Oliveira's in a really good position. Again, bearing in mind that Oliveira, he may be down in workers, but mules are a factor, and I would say that right now Oliveira is ahead economically. Especially as more workers are going down, especially with all the lost mine time that we had earlier as well, as Dark was pulling workers away from almost every mineral line. Now Oliveira can focus on his push, moving out across the map. How many tanks do we have? We have 4 tanks, a decent amount of marines. Stim is done, 1-1 as well. These Ravagers are coming in clutch. They need to get on top of these tanks. They need to pile them down. If they can't get close, then this may just be it. As Dark is getting ready for a full surround. He's coming in from behind. The tanks are not sieged. The tanks are not sieged, and the blast will connect. Oh, the Ling army goes down though, and Oliveira still breaks through. Oh my god. A very efficient trade. Oliveira may have lost all of his tanks, but he shuts down every one of these Ravagers. As they get hunted down, GG gets called, and Oliveira takes game number 3, taking a lead in this series. GG. Oh. Again, the Banshee harass was insane what Oliveira was able to pull off there. And that was just giving him the breathing room he needed to get his third base up and running and to work towards, to build towards that push that Dark was not able to be prepared for. He had to make a choice. He had to either re-drone or, go all in and make an army. And of course, he had to resaturate his bases, had to spend his larva on workers, not on his army. That was the timing that he was at the most vulnerable. That was probably the best fight that Dark could have hoped for. Remember, he caught the army unsieged. He was able to bile down some of the tanks as well. Bile down every tank, actually. But again, it just wasn't enough to overcome the advantage that Oliveira had already. GG. And just like that, Oliveira is 1 game away from becoming this week's KungFu Cup champion. Dark has to win this game. He has to fight back here and now to force the ace match. And our next map, Oceanborn. Oceanborn is coming up next. Meanwhile, quickly double checking, do we have any updates regarding Bjorn and Clem? I don't believe we do. Okay, so I believe it is still ongoing. It's still mid-series. I'm sure we'll get some updates after the event concludes. But they have their own best of 3 series that they're playing out. And here we go. We're getting into Game 4. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Chinese Terran player, the reigning world champion representing KranKy Gaming, 1 game away from becoming this week's KFC champion for the KungFu Cup. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing KranKy Gaming. Needing to win this game here to force the ace match, it is Dark. And we are on Oceanborn, and we've seen Dark succeed, but also fail on this map, and I'm curious as to how Oliveira is going to approach this. Yo, I mentioned earlier that we haven't seen Oliveira go for the low ground 2-racks in quite some time, but he's going for it. Okay. Oliveira, you have my attention. Going for a much more... I mean, this makes sense. So, we saw Clem do this. If you remember, lining it back in the semifinals, we saw Clem on Oceanborn go for the 2-racks opener. And I think it makes a lot of sense on this map, just because there's only one logical third base that you can take. You're not taking this low ground third at all. So because of that, it is easier to contain your opponent with this Reaper opener, and easier to force the Zerg player to stay on 2 bases, instead of having them slip out a drone and sneak out a third. Just because there's only one place you have to check. So because this base layout is very linear, it gives the advantage of this opener because you don't have to guess as to where the throw is going to be taken and guess as to where to check and when to delay. So there is a lot of power behind this. If you remember though, when Clem went for this opener, he went Reaper opener into mech, into double factory. I don't see that happening this time. As Oliveira is getting ready for his expansion, first Reaper is moving out, and the second and third Reaper are going to be coming out momentarily. Dark is sneaking out that drone. Bold move here from Dark. He's going to try to hide that worker and try to expand. Oliveira, again, he only has one base to check. Will he? There we go, as the base is being taken and Oliveira is busy dancing with these lings. Did end up opening up 3 Reaper. And again, he is, for the time being, unawares. Now, the reason why I bring this up, when you go for this 2 racks Reaper opener, as the Reapers are dancing with these queens, they're being forced back and they do get eyes on the third base. When you go for this opener, if you see this base being thrown down, you start a 4th and a 5th Reaper. And then you go for up to 5 Reapers. You will cancel this base. Now this is too late. With 3 Reapers, they don't have the DPS to shut down this hatchery, and Dark should eventually be able to regain control. And there we go. Reapers, they dip in. Almost get caught out. Behind this, Oliveira does end up sniping that Overlord. But again, these 3 Reapers, they don't have the DPS to deny this third base, and yeah, Dark, he's going to be able to come out on top here in this opener. Link speed is done, and now Dark can catch these Reapers. There you have the Queen on the high ground. There is no way out. 1 Reaper goes down. We dive into the main base, trying to do what we can. We do get a drone. But again, a really strong start here from Dark. And back at home, Oliveira is transitioning. Ew, interesting. Okay, it's going to be a straight up 2-on-1. He is delaying his third base. Typically, we would be seeing a 3cc 2-on-1, but that is not the case. Oliveira is going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more assertive. Oh, okay. Maru, is that you? Maru and Beyond, they've been messing around with this. Okay, so it's a 2-on-1. Yes, for those of you, it's oh my god. It's 2 Raxes into a factory, into a starport. Now, typically we would be seeing an add-on swap for Medivacs, but no, instead we get a tech lab on the starport and we have a Banshee on the way to harass. And with the reactor on the factory, you can actually make 2 up to 4 Hellions as well. But we'll see how heavily we commit to these Banshees. Now, the downside is obviously your Medivacs are delayed, but the upside is that Dark is most likely not going to be prepared for Banshee harass. And this Banshee could do a lot. Meanwhile, Oliveira delays his third even longer. He throws down another Rax. This is the beginning of a 2-base all-in, by the way. The longer this game goes on without a third CC, the more concerned I am for Dark. As Dark is throwing down 2 Evo chambers, he's taking his gases, he's droning up. Like, Dark, he's playing macro, as he should. Little does he know that a third base does not exist for his opponent. As Stim is done, Banshee is getting across the map to harass. We're getting towards our first tank. We're working towards +1. Here comes the 2-on-1 double drop of Oliveira. Again, it has been delayed because of the opener. The Banshee isn't finding too much damage, but is keeping these queens busy while the drop moves out. And again, this drop is just designed to keep Dark contained, maybe even deny this 4th base. Meanwhile, Oliveira, he's just building up the all-in. God, that's a lot of queens. 9 queens! My god! Not enough though, we will be cancelling that 4th. Oliveira maintaining control of this position. This is a really risky 4th base to take. We've seen Dark struggle a lot to hold on to this area. And with the all-in coming, I mean, even before the all-in, we just stim on forward. We deny the base again for a second time. Losing 2 Marines in the process, but that is more than worth it. Stark desperately wants to take the space. At the same time, there's a Banshee covering this location as well. So Dark is kind of forced to expand here. And here we go. The push has arrived. Now, Oliveira is expanding behind this, but this is a very late third TC. This is a very committed push here from Oliveira. He has to make this work. He has to make this worth it. Oh, the majority of the queens are being pulled out of position, and this hatchery is going to be cancelled once again. A lot of creep is being cleaned up as well. Now, I'm sure Oliveira wanted to fight here. Like, again, this is just a really good position for these tanks. Here we go. We've got a drop headed towards the top right. So far, Oliveira successfully containing his opponent. The tanks are getting within range here of... They can't read the Baneling. They can't reach the Baneling nest, right? Yeah, okay. Like, that'd be unfortunate. Good tank volleys go off on the Ling Bane. Oliveira maintaining this position. The medevacs are getting low, though. They are getting low, and Darky comes in from behind. We do have Marines in position. Good target firing on the Banelings. And the tank will survive, but the drop gets cleaned up at the same time. Fourth base is denied once again. Not killed, thankfully, but was cancelled. And that's all that Oliveira needs to do. Contain Dark to 3 bases. And this is the exact same thing we saw in Dark versus Gumiho, where Gumiho was just coming in time and time again, knocking down the 4th, knocking down the 5th. Behind this, Oliveira finally gets into his 3rd base, getting into his economy. And as long as he denies the 4th of his opponent, even though Oliveira's 3rd is very late, it's worth his while. It's worth it. Meanwhile, behind this, Dark has been taking up even further. Interesting. Despite being stuck on a 3-base economy, he's taken all of his gases, and he's working on a hive. Hive is on the way. That'll most likely be for Vipers. So Ling Bane into Viper. Dark doesn't really have the best economy to sustain Hydra production yet if you want to go Hydra Lurker. Not quite there. Was it Oliveira has to be careful to be caught out, clearing up a lot of this creep. Meanwhile, Dark is triple expanding. He's taking this center base on the right-hand side, and this new 4th base as well. Dark desperately trying to get some of these bases up and running. We'll see if he can. We'll see if he can even get them all up and running. So Oliveira is moving out. Behind this, 2-2 is on the way. Liberators as well. Do have a massive counterattack, but Oliveira's in position. I do love that we had... Oh, never mind. There were some borrowed Banelings that were set up, but I think they were repositioned. So Oliveira is breaking through. Oof. So mine does go off. Bit of friendly fire from that Widow Mine. But Oliveira's doing, again, a great job at cleaning up a lot of this creep. We do have a surround being set up. Hot pickup does save most of those Marines. So Oliveira, he gets the hell out of there. At the same time, we do have a drop on the right-hand side. Not too many Marines to work with, but this hatchery is under threat. The Vipers! No! Okay, we're good. I thought they were just going to roll in. They get the power bombs. The Vipers will survive. Look, I've seen Dark lose Vipers before. It's not pretty, but they survive. Meanwhile, the Medevacs did go down. Liberator doing what it can to be annoying. As annoying as possible. And Dark is establishing these bases. These hatcheries are up and running. Dark is now maxed. He has a solid economy. He's got decent creep spread as well. But here we go. Oliveira's pushing. Interesting that he didn't go tanks. Like, he has tanks defensively back at home, but he's focusing more on Ling Bane, and he gets caught out. The mines. They do not borrow. They keep on pushing. Oliveira trying to force his way towards these fresh mining bases. Doesn't want the mines to go off prematurely. But some of them will. Good shot on the Banelings. Oh my god. There's a lot of Banelings going down. As more shots are going to be going off as well. Good powerbomb on those medevacs. We do end up trading blow for blow. Oliveira moving out with another army. There are some borrowed Banelings. Oh god! Up! Oh! Dark was looking. He does set them off. Let's go. It's like, hey, the Banelings, they may have less HP, sure, but man, when they're borrowed, the HP doesn't matter. Does not matter. They will connect nonetheless. And Oliveira is being forced back. Dark is establishing these bases. Bases that he once struggled with, but now he's getting into Hive Tech. 3-3 on the way. Kindness plating is done. We're getting into Ultras. So Ling Bane Viper into Ultra. Trying to keep up here with the momentum of Oliveira. And so far, Dark has been able to pull it off. Oh, the Slingbane army does get caught out though. Bit of an expensive loss for Dark. But you know, he's replacing that supply with more Ultras. Speaking of, the first Ultra has been revealed. We don't have any Ghosts. At the same time, a massive Slingbane counterattack will gonna punish this Planetary. Good target firing from the Planetary, but it will fall. Meanwhile, the Ultras with the Transfuse. They are gonna be able to hold the line. Dark, he is holding. At the same time, we do have a drop across the map that may barely get the hatchery. Does take down the base. But Oliveira, he's running out of steam. He's running out of money. He's running out of gas. Yeah, and as he's trying to maintain his position out on the map, he has nothing at home to defend. SCVs are falling left and right. It looks like Dark has done it. He's breaking the economy of Oliveira. Getting on top of these tanks. 15 SCVs go down. Oliveira, he barely has an economy to speak of. And he's forced to pick up, forced to evacuate. Oliveira trying to reestablish his bases, trying to get another Planetary up and running. But honestly, Dark, he can just push in again. Can push in again. Decent fungal, decent spread as well. The Ultras are trying to break that Planetary base, but they're having a hard time. There we go. They break the base. GG gets called. And Dark takes game 4. We have an ace match. We're going all the way to game 5. Let's go. Let's go, Bobby. Game 5 is upon us. Initially, Oliveira, again, he had some momentum going his way. It was unfortunate that he did delay his third base for as long as he did, but he was doing a good job at just denying the fourth base over and over again from Dark. I'll be honest though, I'm not really too fond of going mines. There are some really good tank positionings and really good points of elevation on Oceanborn that we have seen players like Clem and players like Gumiho take advantage of. And I'm not too sure if mines are the best way to go about this map to really abuse some of those locations. Instead, we did see more of a back and forth, which was great to see, don't get me wrong. It was great to see Ling Bane trading with the Biomine and going for all these counterattacks, going for all these run-bys, keeping up with Oliveira. But again, I do think that there are other compositions that can fare a little bit better from the Terran side of things on Oceanborn. Despite that though, I appreciate that Oliveira didn't go for that like tank heavy style, because if you do, then you go for, like, you're basically turtling. Like if you're familiar with Gressvan, it's kind of like that, where you just like wall off your bases. You know, you have planetaries, you have sensor towers, tank lines as well. It's a very different style, and I appreciate that Oliveira wanted to be more active instead. I enjoy it. It's more exciting, Papi. It's more exciting. as we are getting into our next game. Gonna be getting into our final game of this series. It all ends here. It all ends here on Site Delta. The green map. The green map. Oh. Here we go. One way or another, this will be the final game of the finals. And I mean, shout out to both Dark and Oliveira for making it all the way to the ace match. Especially Oliveira. Like, I feel like he's been overlooked quite a lot. Like, it isn't his fault, but for those wondering, Oliveira, he was denied his visa to participate in DreamHack Yongshiping in ESL Masters Summer. So because of that, he didn't play in DreamHack Yongshiping. He didn't play in Home Story Cup either. Like, he just wasn't able to travel outside of the country. He just didn't get his visa in time. So because of that, we just seen less Oliveira this year. Like, he just hasn't been in as many premier events as he should. And I feel like a lot of people, I don't want to say they've forgotten, but like, you know, they kind of overlook him nowadays just because he was less active, but he's still a damn good player. He's a world champion. And here we go. In the bottom right hand corner, we have the Chinese Terran player representing KranKy Z Gaming, the reigning world champion. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zurich player representing KranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. Forcing the ace match, forcing us to go all the way to game 5. Let's go. And yeah, it's, oh my god, as Oliveira, he's going for a CC first. Papi. So greedy. Let's go. For the first time in this series, we have a CC first from Spirit. Is that you? From Oliveira. Again, a very greedy economic opener. It can be punished, especially by these early roach pushes, just because you have so much less to work with early on. You have a later racks, which means you have a later factory as well. You're fine against like 12 pools and stuff, or pool first even. You're fine against a pool first, but roach aggression can be difficult to defend against. Regardless, Dark is going for a hatch gas pool economic opener out of Dark. This was a risky move to go for Oliveira, just because Dark has shown us that he is willing to go for pool first and go for roach pushes. But Oliveira, he gambles, and he gambles well. He won't be punished for this, or he shouldn't be punished for this. But again, fingers crossed that if Oliveira does qualify for DreamHack Atlanta, that he's able to participate in it. I do know that, if you remember, it was a couple of months ago at this point, but ESL did come out with a statement, and they did say that it was on them for not inviting Oliveira fast enough. They didn't invite him with enough time for him to be able to get his visa sorted out and all that stuff. So they did say that they were going to do a better job at that, and we're going to be more on top of that for DreamHack Atlanta. I hope that that's true, and I hope that Oliveira, if he does make it, that he's able to be there, because it would be a shame if he misses out on an entire year of StarCraft just because of something like that. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We want to see more of him, and he deserves to be there as well. He deserves it, man. He deserves it. He may just be a normal man, but you know, normal men, they sometimes they deserve to travel abroad and compete, you know? Oliveira. Behind this, we're getting into our 1-1 opener. Just a normal human being. So humble. Likewise, Dark working towards his third. And yeah, our openers so far are looking quite standard here. As I say that, I have to eat my words, because Dark does go for, what was that, a 325-ish Roach Warren timing? Very early Roach Warren out of Dark, hidden behind the mineral line, which tells us that Dark does want to go for an earlier Roach push to try to catch Oliveira off guard. Meanwhile, Oliveira with a second. I thought like I was seeing things. I thought, mate, for those wondering, it's 3 a.m. It's 3:30 a.m. in the morning here in Australia. I thought I was like hallucinating a little bit, but that was a second factory, and we are massing cyclones. Oh my god. Oh my god, we are making 4 cyclones at a time, and this is going to be meeting a roach rush from Dark. How does this dynamic work? So Dark, he's going to be moving out with his roaches. He's setting up his creep highway. He's got, I believe, 9 roaches in total that are going to be on the way. And they're going to be running into a wall of cyclones. All right, here we go. And the roaches, they have been spotted. They were spotted by these Hellions. Dark is getting ready back at home. He does have an armory on the way. Oliveira, he's prepared here at his natural base. And the roaches, they're on the way. Now, the scary thing, if Dark loses this roach army, he is very vulnerable to a counterattack. And here we go. He's been spotted. Cyclones have been spotted. Dark, he turns back around. He's racing back home. He understands how much danger he is in. There we go. 5 roaches in production. Dark trying to amass an army. The queens are brought forward as well. And with these queens with transfuse, Dark should be able to defend against this. Oh, as the Hellbats are morphed in. Good lock-ons here on the roaches on the queens as well. The Hellbats are going down one after the other, though. And with those transfuses, with the roach reinforcements, Dark, he's going to be able to shut down this push. Again, I do think worst case scenario would have been Dark pushing into Oliveira. If Dark had to fight that without the queens and without reinforcements, without creep, Dark would have been in a lot of trouble. Thankfully for Dark, Oliveira pushed into him. He pushed into him, and Dark had the concave, he had transfuse, he had everything he needed. He survives, and Oliveira's doubling down. He throws down a 3rd factory. He's getting his 3rd base up and running, 4 CC as well. I worry, though, that I feel like Mass Cyclone has to has to snowball. I feel like it has to escalate out of control from the early game. And I feel like that this first push just wasn't it for Oliveira. But we'll see. Thankfully for Oliveira, he doesn't have to worry about links. There's no link speed. Again, Dark, he cut corners, he went straight into roach production. As a result, we're going to be seeing more of a back and forth dynamic here between the roaches and the Ferrari mech here of Oliveira. He's now supplementing his army with Hellions. He's getting into tank production. Oliveira is now transitioning into a much more defensive, solid turtle style of mech. It does have a very mobile force, don't get me wrong, but from here, I don't think we're going to be making any more cyclones. Okay, it's going to be all about the tanks. Tanks and Hellions. So we do have a marauding army. Ideally designed to deny bases and take control of the map. In a head-to-head fight, I'm again concerned for the lives of these cyclones, so we have to be careful. We have to back off. You have to respect the positioning of Dark, and Dark is happily just saturating his bases, taking his gases. We do have tunneling claws on the way, burrow as well, Nidus worm being thrown down. Dark wants to be in the face of Oliveira. Wants to be as active as possible. Oliveira trying to go for a Hellion counterattack, and he will be able to get into the mineral line. Dark out of position. Oof. The drones line up, 6 workers go down, and the Hellions are able to escape. 6 workers for not a single Hellion. Oh no! Almost spoke too soon. 1 Hellion goes down. Nidus into the main. Oliveira, he doesn't see the Nidus. No! Oliveira, he doesn't know the Hellions are going to get cleaned up. The main army of Dark, by the way, pushing through onto the 3rd base, getting on top of the tanks. This is going to be a rough trade for Dark. A little bit unnecessary, but he does get the Nidus up and running, and here we go. He slips into the main base. Meanwhile, here at the 3rd, he takes down every single tank. He wins this fight. He takes down the tanks, he takes down the cyclones, and he takes control of the main. As he burrows under and on top of those tanks, GG gets called. It's just too much. And Dark takes game 5. He will be this week's KungFu Cup champion. GG. GG, well played. Oliveira trying to make Mass Cyclone work here in game 5. And again, I do think it would have worked like just because the stars were aligning, you know, everything was going Oliveira's way. If only Dark had pushed into him. I don't, to be fair, I don't even think Oliveira knew that a roach push was necessarily imminent. But upon seeing all the cyclones, Dark, he backed off. He raced back home, got his defenses ready for it, and he was able to deal with the first push. And I feel like, again, this cyclone style has to build, has to get damage done early on and capitalize on that and get ahead. Because the first push failed the way that it did, like, Dark had so much momentum going his way. He was able to comfortably get into his fourth and get everything going. And yeah, GG, well played. Dark shuts it down, and he's our champion. Congratulations. Also, a shout out to Oliveira. A shout out to Oliveira because he made a great series out of this, went all the way to the ace match, even tried to make Mass Cyclone work, and it is something that players have been playing around with, and I'm sure Oliveira has had success with this as well, just because he wouldn't be doing it if he didn't. But against Dark, not quite. Against a Roach Heavy style, as we saw, did have a hard time breaking through, and congratulations. A shout out to not just Oliveira and Dark, but also to Clem and Bjorn. They were the 3rd and 4th place players. Let me just double check. Do we have any results from that? We do. Oh my god. We have some results indeed. And when it comes to 3rd and 4th place, Clem is 3rd, Bjorn is 4th. Clem did take down Bjorn 2-1, claiming that 3rd place, gaining a little bit more of that prize money as well. So congratulations to Clem for taking down Bjorn. That was off stream. I don't think anyone was casting that, unfortunately, but a solid result and a solid match nonetheless. So very well done to Clem. Ooh, as we are done for today. We are going to be wrapping things up. God, daylight savings is going to destroy me. Fun fact, daylight savings was over the weekend. It was on Sunday, as we'll choose the predictions. But daylight savings was on Sunday here in Australia. I don't know if it was the case anywhere else. But now it's an hour later, and it is 3:30 a.m. in the morning. It's almost 4 a.m. These WTL casts and these KungFu Cup casts are gonna go deep into the night now. I mean, we'll do it. I'll do it. Don't get me wrong. It's just my sleep schedule is gonna be ruined. Because I will adjust. To this, and yeah. Who needs sunlight? Nah, we don't need the sun. We just need regular light. That's all we need. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Hope everyone had a great time in this tournament. For those wondering, for those who maybe aren't familiar, this event is a weekly tournament. It's a weekly tournament until WTL wraps up. When World Team League goes on hiatus after the season ends, KungFu Cup also goes on a hiatus when the season ends, and it comes back with the next season of WTL. So they come hand in hand. They do come hand in hand. So yeah, that's why it is the KungFu Cup, but it's also, you know, got like the subtitle of WTL Winter, as it is coming together with the new season of World Team League. So it is just another way for all these players to gain WTL points, because once we wrap up with WTL, once we wrap up with KungFu Cup, we will have most likely another Masters Coliseum, which invites the players with the most WTL points accumulated through KungFu Cups and World Team League. So, you know, we have events on events on events. Oh, meanwhile, thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for supporting us as well. We are done for the night. If you enjoyed our casting and if you want some more action, we'll be live tomorrow in less than 24 hours at around the same start time as WTL. We're going to be live with a special event also hosted by SC Boy. I believe it is called, or it is a variation of Korea versus the world, which used to be an event that was held long ago by funded and sponsored by Blizzard. I believe, I'm not too sure with the details, but tomorrow there is a special Korea versus the world event that's going to be going on, and we're going to be casting it. We'll be casting it here on this channel, so exciting stuff. I don't know if they're going to be doing 2v2s or if it's just a bunch of 1v1s. I am unfamiliar with the details, but whatever it is, we're going to be casting it. So stick around, or mark your calendars, mark your alarms. Get in there, Bob. Get in there. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. So much for watching. Exclamation mark socials in the chat if you guys want to have a look at our social media. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Discord as well, and we have a Patreon. You can support us via Patreon if you wish. Our Patreon is set up to fund our tournaments. We do host tournaments on a bi-weekly basis, and if we hit certain goals, we can turn our bi-weeklies into weeklies. So if you want to support StarCraft, if you want to support the community, then Patreon is the place to do it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Korea versus the world. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the support. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye.